All right, today we're doing more than just looking at history. We're actually investigating a grand theft. We're looking at a case where the masterminds of an entire civilization had their greatest hits, well, stamped with someone else's name. We are going to uncover the truth about the lost teachers of Rome.
So quick question for you. When you picture ancient Rome, what's the very first image that pops into your head? For so many of us, it's got to be that famous statue, right? The she-wolf feeding those two little baby boys, Romulus and Remus. It's like the very soul of Roman identity.
Yep, that's the one. The Capitoline she-wolf. It's a symbol of strength, of motherhood, of the divine origin story of one of the greatest empires in history. It's been the city's logo for centuries. But what if I told you there's a huge secret hiding in that famous bronze?
That's right. The single most iconic symbol of Rome wasn't made by the Romans. It was actually created by their mysterious neighbors, the Etruscans, way back around 500 BC. That was long before Rome was even an empire. And this isn't just some trivia night fun fact. This is clue number 1 in our investigation. So that just makes you wonder, right? Who were these people?
Okay, so to really crack this historical heist, we need to get to know the victims. The Etruscans weren't just some small tribe living next door. They were a vibrant, super sophisticated civilization that was thriving in Italy for centuries. And their art, wow, it gives us this amazing window right into their minds.
Okay, just look at this thing. This is the Chimera of Arezzo, and it is a perfect example of Etruscan skill and imagination. I mean, you've got a lion, a goat, and a snake all mashed together into this one terrifying, really dynamic creature. This isn't just a statue, it's a masterpiece of bronze casting. It shows a level of technical and artistic genius that was right up there with anyone in the ancient world.
But, their unique way of seeing things wasn't just for scary monsters. Their whole worldview was different, especially when it came to death. While a lot of other ancient cultures, like the Egyptians and Greeks, saw the afterlife as this grim, scary, shadowy ordeal, the Etruscans had a totally different take. For them, it was basically the next big party. And nothing, I mean nothing, shows this better than this piece right here. This is the sarcophagus of the spouses. Now, it's a coffin, sure, but there's zero sense of sadness or fear. Instead, you see a husband and wife just lounging together like they're at a dinner party, sharing this sweet moment for all of eternity. It's so warm and intimate, and it tells us two huge things. For them, death was a celebration, and women held a really high and equal status in their society. Pretty cool, huh?
Okay, so we've got our profile. These are seriously artistic people with a really unique outlook on life. But were they capable of the kind of massive construction that Rome is so famous for? Well, the answer isn't in their cities for the living, it's in their incredible cities for the dead.
And we're not talking about small projects here. We are talking about things on an immense scale, with incredible longevity. Their largest burial ground, the Banditaccia Necropolis, was used continuously from the 9th to the 3rd century BC. That is over 600 years of non-stop complex construction.
You gotta understand, this place wasn't just a graveyard. A necropolis literally means city of the dead, and that's exactly what it was. A sprawling metropolis with streets and squares and neighborhoods all planned out on a grid. This was urban planning on a massive scale.
And when you go inside these big earthen mounds, the tumuli, the craftsmanship is just wow, it's breathtaking. They weren't just digging holes in the ground, they were sculpting entire homes right out of the solid rock. They carved furniture, columns, multiple rooms. All of this incredible detail shows this massive investment of time and skill, all to make a comfy, permanent home for the soul.
There's a phrase that just sums it all up perfectly. The amount of care, planning, and pure engineering skill they poured into these cities for the dead is just staggering. It proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that the Etruscans were absolute masters of large-scale, sophisticated construction. So the skill and the opportunity are there. Now for the smoking gun.
All right, this is it. This is where the whole case comes together. We've seen that the Etruscans had the artistic chops and the engineering genius. Now we're going to lay out the evidence that Rome's most famous architectural technology was, well, a direct inheritance.
Think about all the big Roman hits, the Colosseum, the aqueducts, all those triumphal arches. What's the one piece of tech that makes them all possible? It's this, the semicircular arch. It's a simple but absolutely brilliant design where that central keystone at the top locks all the other stones into place, and it uses gravity itself to create incredible strength. It is the structural backbone of the entire Roman Empire.
But here's the twist. Here's the absolute kicker.
The Romans were brilliant engineers, for sure. They mastered the arch and used it on a scale nobody had ever seen before. But they did not invent it. The evidence is crystal clear. The Etruscans were using it in huge stone structures long before the first Roman aqueduct was ever built.
And for our Exhibit A, I give you the Porta Augusta in Perugia. Look at this thing. This isn't some tiny experimental arch. It is a massive, monumental city gate, built with incredibly sophisticated stonework, and it's been standing for over 2,000 years. And who built it? The Etruscans in the 3rd century BC. It is undeniable proof of their mastery.
So yeah, the arch is the biggest piece of evidence, but it's not the only one. That classic Roman house design, the domus, with that central open courtyard, the atrium, yep, that's Etruscan. And the idea of large-scale, grid-based city planning, which the Romans would later perfect for their forts and new cities, you can see the blueprint for that right in the Etruscan Necropolis. Okay, so we've looked at the evidence, we've profiled this super sophisticated civilization, we've shown they had the engineering know-how, and we've presented the smoking gun. I think it's time we deliver the verdict.
Let's just put this on a timeline so it's super clear. The Etruscans show up around 768 BC. They're making masterpieces like the She-Wolf around 500 BC. They're building gigantic stone arches by the 3rd century BC. And then, right at this peak, the rising power of Rome starts absorbing their cities, finishing up around 264 BC. So you see, the Romans didn't just conquer a people, they inherited this massive treasure trove of art, technology, and ideas.
And that really is the bottom line. The Romans were geniuses of organization and logistics, brilliant implementers who took these foundational ideas and scaled them up to build an empire that changed the world. But we have to give credit where credit is due. So next time you look at a Roman arch, just remember the forgotten teachers who laid the foundation.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. We tend to see history as this clean line of great inventors and singular geniuses. But this whole story shows us it's often more about quiet teachers and really brilliant students. So, if the very foundation of Rome was built on borrowed ideas, what other facts in our history books might be worth a second look?